What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Wednesday night. It's time for Mythic Conversations. Thank you all for joining me this week. I'm solo this week after a couple weeks of having some, awesome guests on, right? I'm alone this week, but that's cool. I'll carry this conversation because tonight we're going to talk about skeletons. It's crazy how much can happen in a week. So much has been revealed in the past, couple days since I was here last week talking with my friend Joe about the LegionsCon sets for next year. So that's what the focus of tonight's going to be. We're going to talk about graveyard skeletons, along with some other stuff that's going on, including LegionsCon. We are officially 1 month away. Today is October 9th. LegionsCon doors open technically less than a month now, right? Because we're at the end of the day today. So at this point, 1 month from now, the doors on LegionsCon Day 1 will be closed to the actual ballroom, but the party will be in full swing in the lobby. So very, very excited for that. So we'll talk a little bit about LegionsCon as well, because we are, marching right towards that. It's crazy to think that I can remember, literally a year ago, seeing it being 52 weeks away, not 4 weeks away. So it's incredible that it's almost here. I'm very, very excited for that, of course. Thank you all for joining. Of course, I'm Jeremy Gerard. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for Four Horsemen Studios. I'm also here every single Wednesday night, or most Wednesday nights at the very least, doing this show where we talk about all things Legions. If you want to know more about me or see more of my work, my customizing and all that good stuff, you can do so. The best place to do so is on my Instagram page. That is at Mythic Customs. Had to find the banner there. This StreamYard is also used by Chris for the afternoon show, so it gets a little squirrely in here with all these crazy videos and special things that he has talking about gas bar sausages and whatever other craziness they have going. On the topic of LegionsCon, there was one thing that was mentioned, speaking of the afternoon show today, that I'll just address here. Somebody asked, they're in Florida, they're potentially in the path of this storm. They said, if I have tickets to LegionsCon and I should not be able to attend, can I get a refund? Absolutely. If you go right to the Eventbrite site, you go right to the LegionsCon site and you click on the tickets, or you log into your Eventbrite where you bought the tickets, you can request a refund. I can only give refunds up until the actual show. So if you're not going to be able to go, unfortunately, I hope everyone comes out of this coming storm unscathed. But if something were to happen and you unfortunately can't make it, of course, we will refund that. Just let us know that in the information when you file that refund request. Badass reviews. Said getting hit very hard tonight. I know tonight is when it's supposed to make landfall. So best wishes to everyone down there in Florida. If you are in Florida and you're watching, maybe I'll do my best to take your mind off of the storm for the next 90 minutes. Cloud saying, finally got my hands on Grisha. So much prettier in person. Yeah, Grisha is one of my favorite figures. When I remember seeing that figure in the second Kickstarter, and that was immediately one of the ones that I gravitated towards. Considerably one of my favorites. Also one that I usually pick as an underappreciated figure whenever I am asked about that. Very, very cool. Okay, so other stuff going on here. Let me see what I've got keyed up. So let me bring this up here. I'm going to share this. Talked about this the last couple weeks. but Stavros the Unwavering. So this is the 25th anniversary kind of celebration figure, 25th anniversary of Big Bad Toy Store and of Four Horsemen Studios. This is available exclusively at Big Bad Toy Store. We've already talked about this, not much more to say other than just a reminder. This is actually closing at the end of the month. And what I mean by that is, this was done as a pre-order through Big Bad Toy Store so they could gauge how many that they were going to actually need. They have to have their order in at the end of this month. So what I tell everybody is if you are going to place an order for this, Big Bad Toy Store isn't charging for this up front. Like a lot of their stuff, if you put it in your cart, you add it to your, basically pile of loot. They don't charge you until it actually arrives. So you can get that order in now and not have to worry about needing to necessarily pay for it until it comes in the early next year. But by getting that pre-order in, as opposed to saying, oh, I'll wait until it's actually in stock. If you wait till it's in stock, you run the risk that it is not going to be in stock because they are going to order to meet the demand on this. In this particular case, because they are the only game in town, we're never going to have this at shows that the Four Horsemen does. We're never going to have a standard version of this like we do with, say, the LegionsCon figures and so forth. This is your chance to get Stavros. So if you want it, get that order in so they can place the proper order. Now, with this at Big Bad Toy Store, we also have some other cool stuff that's coming. We had announced that we have the in-stock sale and a pre-order actually that hits Store Horsemen next Monday. So let's talk a little bit about that. One of the first thing that we had mentioned is the Tusk Heavy Gunner. So this is a figure that debuted at IshCon back in August. And originally we had said, hey, we're going to put this on our store available for sale as an in-stock item in September. And just with everything else that we had going on, especially with the figure obscura Frankenstein's creature, we couldn't find a window that really made sense, both from a sale and a shipping standpoint. Because, if the way we do figure obscura is not only is the shipping process insane after the drop, but we actually spend some time before the drop pre-boxing a bunch of figures to try to speed up that process post-sale. So there's really no place to be able to do the gunner. So we pushed the gunner over to October. So that's what we are doing right now. This is going to be Monday. This is going to be limited to 4 per person for the first 24 hours of the sale. So that sale starts Monday. That's October 14th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be limited to 4 per person for the first 24 hours. If it goes past that 24 hours and there is still inventory, we will lift purchase limits. I will caution you, this is a limited figure. We don't have a ton of these. I'm not sure how quickly they're going to fly. Like the skeletons sold out in 2 hours, right? There's a lot fewer of these than the skeletons, but the skeletons are definitely something that appeals to maybe a slightly broader group than the Tusk Heavy Gunner will. Still, this is an awesome figure. Everyone that's got it in hand has had really positive things to say. Joe Vassapolo did a great job on the paints, on the prototypes for this. I think this is going to be very desirable. So my suggestion to you is don't sleep on this. If you want to add the Tusk Heavy Gunner, don't say, oh, I'll wait and pick it up at a show later. Don't say, oh, I'll jump on at some point and grab it. We're telling you right up front, this is when it drops on the site. It drops at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Monday. If you want this, get onto the store around that time. That's going to be your best bet. I cannot guarantee. This has already been at a few shows, right? So we had this not only at IshCon, we brought this to ToyCon, New Jersey. So we have brought this to a few live events. It's not going to appear at many more. And if it does appear at any, including LegionsCon, it will be in very short supply. So you heard it from me here. Definitely do not sleep on this. This, what you're seeing on the screen now, this is like this is the main build, right? This is how we do this so much. When I put together this design and stuff, and really it just uses an existing group of parts. It's very much like kind of the Gravekeeper type figure, but with different pauldrons, the heavy gun. And really the biggest kind of aha moment for me on this was that helmet that goes on top of the head. That is just the visor type piece that came with the Gravekeeper as well. But by painting that little front panel that black color, it really makes it look, it changes the look of it completely. It makes it look like a lens as opposed to just a flat metal shield. So much so that when we first debuted this, when we first teased this, a number of people thought that was a brand new head when it's actually not. So this was the main build, but what we always love to do is, give alternate builds and stuff like that. And in this particular case, the alternate build is really just removing the chest armor, removing that visor, and then you've got this kind of body underneath it. So you do get a second cool look out of that. I know a lot of people, I love the different Tusk colors. I mean, I want to go full on Skittles with the Tusk. Give me every color of the rainbow. So I dig this green color. I like the two different looks. Like I said, this is going to hit on Monday. Other stuff going on. We announced today that in addition to the Tusk Heavy Gunner, we did have a bit of a warehouse find with the original Headless Horseman. We knew we had some, and we do have a small amount set aside for like LegionsCon, but we did find a small amount of them that were tucked away. We're going to put those up for sale on Monday as well. Now, this is the original Headless Horseman, the one you're seeing here. This is the original one that was actually from October 2022. So very small number of these left. But if this is something that you are looking for, I actually saw a number of people that are newer to the community who, when they saw this is going up, they were thrilled because they weren't around in 2022 when this dropped. Any other cosmic figures going up for sale? So we actually haven't announced this yet, but the only other thing that's going up is we have a very small amount of all-ins for Cosmic 1, 2, and 3. So that's Valkatar Book 1, Valkatar Book 2, which is Grave Knight, and Outpost Zaxius. We're not selling single figures, but like we did recently with the last in-stock sale drop where we put up a bunch of all-ins, those were all-ins that we just happen to have. Whatever we order them, we order, a few extras. And those extra all-ins, we don't sell all-ins at shows. So they just sit in the stock room and they don't do anything. We got rid of a bunch of those in the last in-stock sale. We're going to do that as well here. So there will be a very, very limited number of all-ins for the first 3 Cosmic Legions wave. So that answers that question. There will not be any other loose, like single Cosmic figures besides the Tusk Heavy Gunner and the Walter Cosmic Legions figure, which is actually available at the store right now. So again, the original Headless Horseman will be available. Got this photo from Trevor. This is one of my favorite photos that he's done of Figure Obscure of all the figures. Just this figure on the bridge. We've got the torches there from Carver Customs. Love, love, love this shot. And then we're also going to make available again a small number of the Gods of Egypt. So this is not as an older release as the Headless Horseman. This was from earlier this year. We do have a small number of these available. These will be available as a set, just like we did previously. These are not being broken up. These are going to be together. Chris, the Headless Horseman and the 2-pack Bastet and Anubis are $120. So $120 plus shipping on all of these. One thing that is very, very cool is shipping. That $9.99 flat rate shipping totally applies. So that wasn't around back in 2022 when we dropped the Headless Horseman originally. The Headless Horseman is a huge set. It's really kind of a cool advantage. Again, once again, it's for US customers. So unfortunately, it's not something that international customers can take advantage of. But US customers or people shipping to a US address, they can take advantage of that $10 flat rate shipping. You can get as much as you want, whether it's Tusk Gunners, Headless Horsemen, the Gods 2-pack, multiples, the other in-stock items that are there. You can put that all on the cart checkout and get that $10 shipping. So hopefully that will be very, very cool. Okay, so I've got that going on there. Before we go on and start talking about the skeletons and the teaser that dropped last week, I'm just going to check the comments and see what's going on. Already answered the cosmic question. Yeah, Rocco, that Headless Horseman. It's amazing what a simple figure it is in terms of that's a very early Figure Obscura. That was the original vision for Figure Obscura, right? I've even said that Headless Horseman was actually the one that was created first. It was created before Krampus, but just because of the way that scheduling worked, it came out second. But again, you look at that figure, it's a standard horse. There's nothing new on the horse. It's pretty much a phallic body. The new parts are the collar, the severed neck, obviously the two pumpkins, the hand that's holding the peg, and really the cloak. That's the only new stuff on that set. It's a very minimal amount of new pieces, but it translates really well to represent that character. What is the number booth? I honestly, Nicholas, don't know what booth number it is. I'm going to have to figure that out. Let me look that up right now. We're going to be at New York Comic Con next week with one of our retailers, Bits and Buttons. So let me see on their website if they list booth number 4634. So booth number 4634 is where Four Horsemen Studios will be with Bits and Buttons at New York Comic Con next week. Very cool. So that brings us to what we dropped last Thursday. So when I left the show last week, I knew that the next morning was going to be a teaser drop. I love when I wake up and I get to drop a teaser, because I've said this before, but at the studio, we keep this stuff so secret and so close that when we can finally start getting it out there, it's an incredible sense of relief. Andy, the updated LegionsCon map on LegionsCon.com does have all the updates on it. So if you download that, just refresh your page and it's all updated. As I was saying, I knew I was going to drop this, and this is a ton of fun. So that's really what we're going to focus on a lot tonight. We're going to look at this Graveyard Skeletons. Really, really cool set. And it's funny because this was a set that we had talked about doing, but not necessarily this year. This set kind of got fast-tracked a little bit because of the incredible reaction to the Skeleton Legion Builder 2. Like, we knew that was going to be popular, but it sold out much faster than we thought it was going to. And remember, we limited people to 4 per person. So it wasn't like we said, buy whatever you want, and people went plumb crazy. We limited people to 4 per person, and it still sold out in just under 2 hours. We saw the demand. We've had a lot of people ask us if we're going to reissue it. And reissuing is always a really, really tough decision to make, because at the end of the day, we want people to play with our toys. We want people to have the toys that they want. But at the same time, we need to make decisions based on how much is too much. If we're constantly reissuing things, there's no sense of urgency to get what we're putting out, because everyone assumes, they'll just drop it again down the road. In the case of the Skeleton Legion Builder 2, we made a lot of that figure. Like, it's not like we made a super small amount and we're like, wow, we really underestimated that. there's a lot of them out there. So, we had to decide, what do we want to do to meet this demand? We saw people who wanted more of the skeletons. We saw the price rising on the secondary market. And hey, I love that the figures are collectible and that they have some value to them. But when someone wants to build an army of skeletons, it's really hard to do so when a Legion builder is now going for $85, $95 or something. So we talked about putting out a set that would hopefully allow us to, check off a lot of boxes. We knew we didn't just want to reissue Skeleton Legion Builder 2. There was something special about that figure. It was released as, a preview figure, a teaser figure. It was released as part of the 10-year anniversary, 25-year anniversary combo. So we didn't just want to pump more of those out. So we had talked about wanting to do more of a Halloween themed set for a while with the skeletons. And this just seemed like a perfect opportunity to do it. Instead of maybe waiting and dropping it next year, we said, hey, we have an idea, we have something cool, let's do this now. So that is really where Graveyard Skeletons came from. And one thing George mentioned this afternoon that he's totally right about is this is not being branded as Mythic Legions. So these are exactly like Mythic Legions figures. And, one of the challenges we had is, how do we present these? Like, how do we paint these so they 100% will fit in with a Mythic Legions collection while still being able to stand on their own? I want somebody who sees one of these at a show or on a store shelf who has no idea what Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions or Four Horsemen Studios is. I want them to see this and say, that is 4 skeletons. That is really, really awesome. A big part of the inspiration for this, I love, for instance, like Skeleton Dance, right? That super fun cartoon. I want people to be able to look like this, and it kind of remind them of that in the same way that the amazing alien and creature creator reminds them of the Mighty Man and Monster Maker. This isn't being branded that way or anything like that, but it's in that spirit, right? So that was a big part of what we wanted to do here. If you're a Mythic fan and you want to build out your army, dude, this will totally do it for you. It doesn't matter to you whether the front of the box says Mythic Legions if you're tearing open the box anyway. But for someone who doesn't know what that is, just seeing this cool 4-pack that says Graveyard Skeletons, and trust me, the art on this is going to be super fun and super cool and super seasonal. I think that's really, really exciting. So we dropped this teaser, special edition 4-pack set, timed edition pre-order. It starts again on Monday. So the same time that the in-stock sale starts, this is going to go up as well. And I'll talk about that later. And this is a timed edition. So this is, I say timed edition it's a phrase. Everything we do is a timed edition, technically. We have a pre-order window from a certain point to a certain point. During that pre-order, we take the orders in. We're going to determine the run size based on that. That's all that this is. The difference with this one is this ends on midnight. So Halloween on midnight at October 31st. That's when it cuts off. And this is going to be available at the same time and at the same price, both from storehorseman.com and from our retailers. So you can get it. This is something that we decided to do where we said, we know there are a lot of international fans where ordering something from Store Horseman, there's an added price for them, right? I'm just talking about the flat rate shipping. That doesn't apply if you're overseas. Obviously, there's customs. There's a lot of expenses and a lot of charges that we have no control over. We don't make any money on the shipping. We don't make any money on customs fees or any of that insanity. That stuff is out of our control, but we're completely aware of the challenges of that. And there's only so much we can do about it. But in this case, we said, you know what? Let's try to do something cool. Let's offer it instead of offering it only from us, which we certainly could have done. Let's offer it through any retailer that wants to carry it. let's offer it at the same price and at the same time. So fans worldwide can make their purchasing decision and not feel like they're being penalized or having to spend more because of where they live. That was our hope with something like this. So if you do pre-order it from Store Horseman, it does apply for the flat rate shipping. The one thing you have to remember is the way that the Store Horseman cart works is if you put in-stock items and pre-order items in the cart at the same time, it's going to force you to check out twice. It's going to force you to check out the in-stock items separately from the pre-order items. And that's because we're going to ship the in-stock items now. The pre-order items, the graveyard skeletons, are not going to arrive until like Q2 next year. So those, for shipping calculations, need to be separate. So that $10 flat rate, you can order as much in stock as you want, ship it for $10 in the US. You can order as many graveyard skeleton packs as you want and ship those for $10 in the US. They're just going to be separate. As far as retailers go, the Store Horseman orders, those will go out first. Retailers will follow. I think I covered all that, right? So with that, what I do want to do is I want to start looking more at the set itself. So I think I covered kind of most of the mechanics of the set, but that was on Thursday we dropped that. On Monday, I woke up and I was super excited that I got to actually share the full pictures, because when we shared that first teaser, I think a lot of people expected it was either just going to be the skeletons or just the skeletons with the weapons. But when they saw the build out of what you actually get, that was pretty cool. I saw a lot of comments that people were surprised by the loadout. I'm just checking the comments real quick. Okay, let's see. I don't know what Joe Vassapolo is doing. He says, I drilled a lot of holes today, tons of holes. It was scary. So I don't know what Joe is drilling holes in, but it's gonna be cool. Gonna be cool. Let's see. Hoping everyone gets these that wants them. Yeah, dude, put your money where your mouth is, right? Everyone said, so many people were like, I want to buy a ton of skeletons. I want to, army build. I want to get, these are $100 a set. So the original Skeleton Legion Builder 2 was $26 a figure. These are technically $25 a figure. Actually, they're cheaper than that. They're a little bit less than that because it's $99 for the set, whether you buy it directly from us or from a retailer. So this is your opportunity. You want to buy it from us? We'll absolutely happily take that order for you. Again, those are going to be the ones that are going to get filled first. So you'll be the first ones to get these figures in hands. If you have a local retailer in your country, whatever, someone that you support, that's cool too. The only thing I will caution you, get the orders in before Halloween, midnight on Halloween, because we are closing the order then. We are placing this order right away. Don't wait on this and say, I'll get it down the road when it comes in, because we're not ordering lots of extras of these. That's what a timed edition means. What the order, what that window tells us is what we're going to order. So Cloud says, may grab a set and sell 3 of them. I really just want one and those fun accessories. Yeah, I mean, the cool thing that I think that we'll see in a minute is there's actually a distinct reason to have all 4. I mean, we wanted to do a 4-pack because it's fun. Like, literally, when you see the way this thing is packed, it makes sense why we did 4 of them. But additionally, beyond that, the fact that we put out the parts that we did in it so you can make all 4 of them distinct, I think that adds definitely some spice to the set. Makes it so it's not just 4 of the exact same figure. New skeleton set is pretty rad. Thank you very much. Let's see. Just checking all the comments here, seeing if there's anything I need to answer. Jake with 312 saying, I just ordered the Necronominous Wave from BBTS, my first Mythic Legions figures. Well, Jake, thank you very much for that support. It's a great wave to start with. On that note, I do not have an update on the Necronominous Wave for you that I can share yet, but I will tell you that an update is coming soon. Significant progress is being made. The light at the end of that tunnel is getting brighter and brighter every single day. Awesome. Okay, so I think I covered all of the questions up until this point. So let's look at the breakdown here. Boom, boom, boom. So this was the build out that we showed. And what you're getting is these are 4 of those base skeleton figures. So exactly the same skeletons as the Skeleton Legion Builder 2, just presented in that new color. You get the 4 basic skulls. Skeleton Legion Builder 2, that just came with the 1 head. It came with a couple pairs of hands, right? It had the shield, the sword, the spear, and a belt. So the only thing you don't get in this set is the belt. We took the belt out of the set, but we added a lot of other stuff. So at first we were like, okay, at first we were going to put no weapons in, right? Because it's not Mythic Legions. But then because we wanted this to fit in with Mythic Legions, we said, well, let's put some weapons in. This is, what I'm kind of sharing with you is all of this back and forth that we do at the design phase, trying to figure out how to pack this out, like what's going to make this a cool set. So instead of including 4 full sets of weapons, we included 2 sets of weapons. But because you get a spear, a shield, a sword, literally if you wanted all 4 skeletons to have weapons, you could absolutely do so with this. And let's be honest, anyone that collects Mythic Legions probably has buckets of extra weapons that they could give to these figures. But even if you don't, even if this is your first purchase, you've got it, you're covered there. Hands. This essentially includes like a skeleton hand pack. On the afternoon show today, George joked that I said that I wanted the pointing fingers. That is actually true. I said we've got to, the pointing fingers were such a hit in Skeleton Legion Builder 2, in part because we never told anybody they were going to be in it. So people love the fact that you could, do the pointing and the finger guns and stuff. So this does include, again, we didn't do 4 full sets. We did 2 sets. So you can have 2 different skeletons doing finger guns, or you can have all 4 skeletons kind of pointing. Or if you get multiple sets, you can mix and match, and you can have all 4 skeletons with double pointers. Sky is literally the limit. But then there's the other, your typical holding hands. We've got the vertical hinges and the horizontal hinges. The one thing that's really cool about this that I'm excited about is the open expressive hands. The open expressive hands were not included with the Skeleton Legion Builder 2. They are included in this set along with those feet. So basically, the open hands replace the fists. The fists that are in the Skeleton Legion Builder 2, because it's a skeleton hand, it's bones, they're not fully shut. They're kind of open a little bit. A lot of people thought that they were supposed to be like gripping hands. They're actually fists. There are gripping hands, of course, in that set. So we just replaced those fists with the open hands here and those feet. But then, really, I think a big star of the show here are those extra heads. So this is the full build out here that you've got all the parts. There's the hands and feet. There are those extra heads and those masks. Let me see. I want to go to those heads. So here's one of those heads. So when we were talking about the different heads that we could throw in this, the pumpkin was right at the top of the list. And we saw a number of people, even with Skeleton Legion Builder 2, pop one of those Headless Horseman pumpkins on top of it. It's super low-hanging fruit, but you know what? I'm not one of these people that's like, hey, if it's obvious and it's low-hanging fruit, it's not worth doing. Hell no. Low-hanging, they don't call me LBC for nothing. LBC, Lazy Boy Customizer. The easiest path to get to the destination is sometimes the right way, right? There's something enjoyable about things that are easy but just look cool and work, and I think this is one of those things. Will the masks fit other figures? Amber, I'm going to talk about that later, and I do have some photos to actually show about that. But this is one of the heads that you get. This is that pumpkin head. Even though we've seen this before in Headless Horseman, we just looked at it a few minutes ago, right? Presented very, very differently here with this particular color palette. So really excited to be able to include this. There you just get the standard head. Now, looking at these two heads here, these aren't heads. These are those bone masks. So these, honestly, guys, this is a part that I was so excited to be able to include. Eric sculpted this back during the Necronominus wave, and we had no idea why. Like, it's literally made to go on the skeleton, but it's a skeleton wearing a mask of a skeleton. It is so ridiculous and so wonderful that we've been looking for a logical way to actually put it out. And this was just a perfect excuse to do so. Because with their 4 alternate heads, they almost have like Halloween costumes, right? You've got one with the pumpkin head, one with the vampire head, and then you've got 2 that are literally wearing Halloween masks. So we did decide to paint them in 2 different colors. There's one that's a very dark kind of color, darker than the bones. And there's one that's a very whitish color, actually lighter than the bones, and both of them contrast really, really well with that base skeleton. And again, the base skeleton, we'll look at the color in a few minutes compared to some others. We're calling this an ashen gray color. We're calling these ash skeletons. So the vibe here was to really go with that kind of black and white type feel. But again, we didn't want to paint it so it was so flat that it looked cartoony. We wanted it to have that feel while still being able to fit into Mythic Legions. I think Cameron, who painted these, did an absolutely wonderful job of capturing that particular color. Just checking out what the comments are here. Rob Zamora says, buy 2 packs, 1 to open and 1 to display and package. I am not, Rob, a packaged collector. As I say this, as there's a bunch of packaged boxes behind me. This is one I will keep in package. I have packaged, the only things that I have packaged, I keep saying I'm not a packaged collector, and there's multiple packaged things on my walls now. My collecting has changed fairly dramatically in the last few years. But as far as 4 Horsemen stuff goes, I have one of every single figure obscura that I keep in package, and I have multiples, including one of each on my wall, of the LegionsCon figures. I'm going to keep one of these in package as well because it is going to be very, very cool. Death by Mexico says, will they come with different hands for each body, or do they share the sets of hands? These are all in one package. So it's literally one box, 4 figures, a bunch of different hands. They can all use them. Like, you can put any of these hands on any of these figures. They all will work. So kind of think about it as 4 figures with a weapons pack and a hands foot pack in the package as well. Mix and match as you see fit. Okay, just checking out the comments. Brian Carr says, love the pumpkin and vampire skull. Cloud, Jeremy's going to convince me to give them their own little shelf on the wall. Cloud, I'm telling you, when you get them in hand, you might not want to sell those 3. They're going to be a fun little group. What's up with the 2 extra feet? So the 2 extra feet were actually meant for this particular build. So the vampire head, when you put that one on, and this is the vampire skull head that first debuted in the All-Stars 6 heads pack. The feet that are included, they're the slightly larger. We call them the monster feet. If you actually compare them, and I don't actually think they're on here. If you compare the feet here, these are actually the regular feet that are on when they took the shot. They didn't swap the hands and feet. But the idea with those hands and feet is, if you compare those feet to the regular skeleton feet, these are bigger and the toes are wider apart. they're meant to be more monstrous. So the idea with the open hands and the larger feet was to use them with that vampire skeleton build. So you can do that. It's part of his costume. Dusty, when will the packaging be revealed? It's not done yet, so we can't reveal it. It might end up honestly being a surprise for when it actually gets delivered or closer to it. It will not be ready before the end of the pre-order. That I can guarantee. Too many other projects are in front of it right now. White Skull Mask is going to really pop on the Red Death. Just wait. I'll show you that in a minute. Any plans for other colors? Possibly. I mean, I was just talking about how I'd love to see Tusk in every color of the rainbow. I'd love to see skeletons in every color of the rainbow. But I mean, even realistically, we've got a red skeleton in Clavian. We've got the green skeleton in Scaphoid. We've got the blue skeleton in Keltis. There are different color skeletons in Mythos already that we've presented. Yeah, I'd love all of those type of colors and more to be presented like this. So if this is successful and there's an appetite for these figures in other colors in the future, this graveyard idea is absolutely something that we could see in future, maybe in other Halloween drops. So how does that happen? Support the sale. Buy some of these, show us that people want this, and we'll make more. Any other comments here? These will not glow in the dark, but I would love a glow in the dark skeleton. Awesome. Okay, so as we were looking, this is the fourth of the builds that vampire type head we've got there. Let's see what other images. So close up, we've got a bunch of different close-ups here. That's showing that vampire head. And again, it's just a cool thing to be able to have in this particular set. This is part of the All-Stars 6 wave. That is probably going to hit before these do. Based on the schedule I'm looking at right now, the Graveyard Skeletons 2-pack should be Q2 next year. All-Star 6 should be before that, but they'll be pretty close to each other. Side view there. And I love iterating through these because they kind of just doing that, the way that Brad took these shots, it makes me laugh. There you can see a better shot of that skull mask on top. There's another one there. Of these two, this is my favorite color. I really like that. A number of people have asked, do these masks fit on other figures? The short answer is yes, but not as well as they fit on this. They almost clip onto this head. They are so form-fitting to it. They don't do that with some of the other heads. They fit some better than others, but I will show you what some of those look like. Again, there's the pumpkin head. Really cool color deco on this one. This is a shot that I actually requested. I said, okay, what I really would like is one of the skeletons using the pointing finger, laughing at one of the other skeletons who's wearing the skull mask. So the fact that this was delivered in that set of photos made me very, very happy. Now, what we've been looking at, we haven't shared these on our social channels yet, but these are on the website. So the Graveyard Skeletons are under the special project section. So we had Trevor Williams do some of his wonderful environment shots, and he did 2 shots that we have here. Because we wanted this to feel like it fit in Mythos, we said to Trevor, give us 2 different shots. Give us one shot that feels like a Mythic Legions piece, and then give us one shot with the alternate heads on and the masks and stuff that feels a little like, silly or a little more comical. Because in my mind, that's like when I put out these 4 characters, they're going to be wearing their costumes. Absolutely. But for those who want a more serious type of skeleton warrior, this works as well. So Trevor did this shot here. Absolutely love this kind of skeletons rising from the grave. Very appropriate as they are graveyard skeletons. Totally, shows the coolness factor of these figures with their weapons. And then this, of course, is the sillier of the 2, which is my personal favorite. That pumpkin sitting on the grave with his foot up, who's just pointing and laughing at the one with the mask. Classic. Love this. So Bradley Treadaway, that's Eric's brother. Brad's he's in the studio now. He's doing a bunch of video work for us. He did, if you saw that really cool Frankenstein's creature video that we posted, he's doing, some of that video work, and he's doing a couple, like when we need certain photos. So in the past, when I needed photos for things, like people asking about, can I see shots of that skull mask on different heads? That's not the type of thing that we would be able to just send that stuff off to Trevor and say, hey, can you shoot a bunch of this for us? He's busy with a lot of other projects that he's working on for us. So a lot of times that would be like Joe or George or someone snapping photos, in the back room very quickly so we could share them. So with Bradley there now with all his video equipment, he's able to take better shots of that stuff for us. So Brad actually did the turn shots that we just looked at, where Trevor did these environment shots. This is another photo that we shared that's important. So again, when everyone's asking about the different colors. So these pictures worth 1,000 words. These actually show what the 3 colors look like. So the one all the way to the left, that is what we call our standard bone color. So that is the one that's going to be coming out on Maxilius the Harvester, and realistically, all of the skeletons from the Necronominus wave and from the All-Star 6 wave have that same color. Even though we said, look, like builder type, soldiery type characters like Skeleton Raider, Tuberculi, they're going to be in standard bone, so you can mix and match. But important name skeletons like Necronominus or Thoracis, they might be different colors. While that is 100% true, those 2 happen to be standard bone as well. So all of those figures, whether it's Scally Bone Splitter, Tuberculi, they're all that standard bone color that you see there. And of course, Maxilius the Harvester, if you take off his robes, that's what you've got right there. You can use those robes and scythe on any of these to make your Grim Reaper. All the way to the right, we have what we call the bleached bone. So that is the color that came out with the Skeleton Legion Builder 2 figure. Once again, with this one, we want to do something different to keep that one special. That doesn't mean that we won't ever come back to that color again. It's a very cool color. A lot of people really seem to like it, but we just dropped it. We just released it. Time to do something a little bit different. Again, to kind of hit that black and white feel, that ashen gray color is what we came up with. That's what you see in the middle there. Graveyard Skeleton's not shorter. It's just a trick of the figures or something, or maybe one slightly higher on the ball, but they're all the exact same body, to the point where the Graveyard Skeleton you're looking at, that is literally a repainted Skeleton Legion Builder 2. That's exactly what we did there. So definitely the same. I'm going to check for the comments here. Nope, no orange skeletons. This is what we got. It was a graveyard smash. Standard bone for the win. Well, dude, everyone, it's funny because looking at the comments, everyone's got their own opinion on which color is their favorite. And that's exactly why we do it. You know, we know some people are going to prefer one color over another. I actually really like the bleached bone. That's probably my favorite of these particular colors. The standard bone color, I think that's really cool too. You know, it's funny because you look at it on the screen right now and standard bone looks like very yellowish. In hand, it doesn't look that yellow. It looks very yellow when you put it next to the ashen gray, which is very super desaturated black and white, or even, you know, the whiter bleached bone. But in hand, like that standard bone color, if you look at the color of like the deluxe skeleton Legion builder, which we just found out that the color of the deluxe skeleton Legion builder, that very yellowish bone, is an almost perfect match for Frankenstein's creature. And the reason that's important is people are taking that Hagnon head from Frankenstein's creature and popping that on the deluxe skeleton Legion builder. And it's a near perfect match way that you can use that head. That standard bone, while it looks super yellowish here, it's not even close to that color yellow. It's much like whiter than the deluxe skeleton Legion builder. So these colors, they have a really weird way of appearing different depending what you put them next to. But it is cool that there is a variety. I really dig that. I don't want one color throughout my entire collection. And for those that do, just buy a whole bunch of that one color. I like variety. It is the spice of life. Awesome. Okay, yeah, standard definitely gives me catacomb vibes. They look very similar to the those piled under Paris. I completely agree. Those have that kind of color. In person, I think that this is even a little bit lighter than the ones that are in the catacombs in Paris. Okay, so that's all the photos I have there. So I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment, and I'm going to bring up some other pictures that I have because, again, I mentioned that I asked the question because a lot of people asked it of me of, do these work? Do those masks work with other heads? So let me show you what I've got here for that. There we go. And then we'll get back to more questions. Okay, so this is one that I saw people request. So again, none of these fit perfectly, right? If you pop this on the head and you turn the head over, the mask's gonna fall off. None of these were made to fit these other heads. All you would have to do is if you just took a dab of blue tack, right? And you put it right on top of either the head or on the inside of that mask, and you rested it there, you'll probably be totally fine. It'll absolutely sit there. It'll certainly sit there to display it in your, display case or to snap some photos of. But understand that these are not, made for these heads pop fit type situation. But there are definitely some cool options you can get here. This is one I definitely wanted to see, and I heard a number of other people ask about. This is on Arazak. So the evil wizard from the Poxus wave, he's got that kind of that necromancer type look. This is that skull head on that Arazak head. I think this one works. There's a bit of a side shot, so it doesn't fit perfectly, but this is one of the ones that I think looks really good. And I like the open mouth expression better than the closed mouth because it just brings the jaw down a little bit. And I think you get to see a bit of that lower lip, which I think looks really, really good. The Armory experience, the Gorgo head has been shown with two different horn styles. I don't know. I don't know which one it's been shown with. I'd have to look at that. But that's completely shown away from what we're talking about right now. So I'm unfortunately not going to switch gears to something other than what we're covering. I'm going to try to do that at another point. Next one here, this is Father Christmas. This one to me does not work. Apparently the shape of the head, it doesn't sit low enough down, but come on. Who wants Santa to wear a skull mask anyway, right? This one I'm going to say is a no. We don't like this one. This is basically the Vorthog orc head. So this one, I don't know if it could be positioned a little further back. This is actually the head that has the white face paint that came with the Tactics, the deluxe male orc from the Tactics set. Look at it out the side there. So you could probably push it back a little bit, but I believe that head's a little bit thinner. So it doesn't, again, you're going to have to play around with these. Maybe even, I think you might even, if you heated that mask and, got it like really, really flexible. One thing that I like to do sometimes is if you need to like force the shape, heat it to the shape you want so it's really, really flexible, and then immediately run it under cold water, and it might keep that shape a little bit better for you. So that's an option there. And this one I do think looks cool. I just might want to, lift it up a little bit so the eyes are more centered. There's another shot of it there. Yes, this is an orc. It's the male orc. This is Varg. This is another one I don't think works real well. Again, they grabbed a whole bunch of heads so you could see some variety. Just the shape of the face. From the side, you can kind of see the shape of that face. I don't think this really works very well. The fact that I'm seeing the nose, the nostrils through the eye sockets versus only the eyes, this one is another no for me. This is my favorite. This is the one. This is the Zende head. Now, we've got obviously the regular Zende head as you're seeing here. We've got the Zende head with the face paint, and we've also got the Zende head that is included with the Gaspar figure, the Brother Xavier head. I think that looks really, really cool. This has got, again, low-hanging fruit. This has got very much like a voodoo priest type vibe to it. This, I think, looks really, really cool. Again, a little bit, like you can see that gap up there. You can see where there's not a super like clean, tight fit. But again, from the front, I think that this is totally going to work. I can absolutely see people using this particular head or using that extra head from the LegionsCon Day 1 set and playing with that and using that with these skulls. Braku says, this is a winner. I hear you out. Yeah, very cool. Just checking out the comments here. So Sven is saying the Gorgo head with the long horns is from one of the pre-packed figures. The experience will have the short horns. So Sean, it sounds like that's your answer. You might be confusing the parts that are available at the actual event with the pre-packed figures that we showed. Was that late last week? I think we showed that. That might have been on Saturday. I'm going to get to that at the end of the episode today. So what else we got here? Let's see. So this is on just a regular, like original 1.0 skull. This is actually Ilgar. So that super burnt out skeleton. Again, it's a little bit smaller and it doesn't have the articulated jaw. So it doesn't fit as like cleanly, doesn't fit as nicely as the skeletons in this new set. But it is something you could put on that. It kind of dwarfs the head so much that it almost defeats the purpose, I feel, with this, but it's certainly an option. I don't know why you'd put it on this skeleton head instead of one of the other ones, but there you go. This is one that I know a lot of people have been asking about. This is what it looks like on a goblin. This looks too big, and I think that's okay, because a goblin would be wearing an oversized mask, right? So this is one that I think, even though it's probably a little too big, I think it's completely in line with the way that the goblins would be from Gob Hollow. So this is one I really, really like a lot. And I see a lot of comments coming in that seem to really like this one. Yeah, Albert Lou saying Papa Shango. There you go. Yeah, that's that's exactly what I'm seeing. I didn't even realize that's what I was seeing. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but yes, that is absolutely what I'm seeing there. So Albert, keep in mind that I'm just showing the gray one. There's also a white one that's included in the set as well. So the gray one is just the one that they happen to grab for all of these photos. There's one that's very, very white. Unfortunately, I do not have it on Numbnick's head. That's not one of the ones they took. Here it is on Blue Hagnon. This is not one I thought. This is a winner, guys. That looks really, really cool. And it made me think of how awesome this is going to be on the Undead Builder Pack. Those zombie heads wearing a skull mask, that is going to be cool. That is absolutely one of the ways that I'm going to use this. Remember, there is a repaint. I mean, so you could use this on the head from the Hagnon head that just came with the Frankenstein's creature set. There's a Hagnon head repainted in the All-Stars 6 heads pack that's the same gray color as the zombie bodies in the Undead Builder Pack. Like, dude, there's going to be a ton of options for you to put it on this head or on the other zombie heads, all of which I guarantee you are going to look super, super cool. But when I saw this one, I was really excited. That's a win right there. Here we have it on someone I saw earlier asking about Carpathius. The Carpathius head is actually a very hard one to find these days. The last figure that it came on was Lord Dragul, who's sold out now, much less Carpathius. So this is a more readily available vampire head. This, of course, is the open mouth vampire head from the All-Star 6 head pack. Again, not a perfect fit, but I think if you tweak this a little bit, if you adjust this a little bit, and you want to do a bit more of like a kind of vicious, almost savage vampire, I think that would absolutely work. El Tidy, they're 8 sets per case. So that's an option there. Here is one that I think looks really, really cool. Now, this is one I do wish they would have used the white mask here, because someone earlier said that the white mask is really going to pop. I think the white mask is really going to pop on the Black Death, right? That Black Death body, I think, is going to be so cool. Red Death as well, but I think that's a really good look there as well. It's not wildly different from the mask that we already have for the Mask of the Red Death, but still looks very cool. Again, looks much more like an organic mask versus the very ornate decorative mask that figure normally comes with. But yeah, the white mask, I think, is going to be an absolute winner. I do not have one on Magnus, unfortunately, Van. And then finally, it does not fit on Scourge or any of the dragon-like figures. If you were thinking of putting it on a Rakagor or on Stavros, unfortunately, it will not fit on any of them, as we see here. So there we go. That is a number of them. I did see a number of other comments asking about different heads. I don't have them on those heads to show, but I've got them on here. Will this mask be a similar material to the Red Death? I don't actually know because I don't have a production version of it with me right now. The ones that I have at the studio are all 3D prints, so I don't know what the exact flexibility is going to be. It will not fit on Sir Gerard because neither of those heads have that kind of, the kind of bald head that it would clip onto in any realistic way. Awesome. Okay. So that's what I've got for that. If anyone has any questions, hit me up, because I think the last real thing I wanted to look at tonight was going to be those pre-boxed Armory builds that someone was asking about a few minutes ago. But that's, in a large part, that's really the stuff that we were talking about for Graveyard Skeletons. That's all the information. Once again, I think this is going to be a fun set to play around with, whether you want to build out those mythic armies, whether you're looking for some Halloween decorations, whether you know people that just think this would be cool. They're cool figures. The amount of people that have talked about that first figure, that Skeleton Legion Builder 2, being hand candy, being their desk figure that they play around with. This is a set. This is very much a thank you set. $99 for these 4 figures. With all that pack out and all those accessories. This is something that hopefully the feedback that we've gotten from people is appreciative of, us being able to offer it at this price worldwide and everything. Because again, people take care of us. We want to take care of them. Very, very cool. Joe Vassapolo saying mask will have some flex. So there we go. Let's see what else we got, guys. Okay. So I think the best place to probably look at those Armory builds, I'm just going to go to the Four Horsemen Facebook page and actually just go right to that post. Yeah, like I said, as soon as we can reveal the packaging, we absolutely will. I'm looking forward to doing it, just not ready yet. So let's change gears a little bit. Yeah, Benny's saying need to add some tombstones. So again, we don't have that. Everything that's in this pack, it's already tooled. There's a lot of super cool things that we could add. They don't exist yet. So if we added tombstones, we'd have to wait for that to get tooled. And instead of getting these in 6 months, it would be 12 plus months to be able to get something like that. So, that's one of the things, while we're obviously still struggling with, getting some of these pre-orders out, as fast as we want to, we struggle with some of this new tooling. There's so much complexity that it seems like there's just one challenge after another that has to be met to meet the standards we're trying to meet. But with these particular things, we're also trying to do more items that are available, that are in stock. For years, I remember people saying, I wish Four Horsemen Studios had more in-stock items. So we are trying to balance that. Yes, L Tidy, the masks were already tooled. The masks were actually tooled at the same time as all of the Necronominous stuff. So even though the Necronominous stuff is still in the tooling process, some of it, like the base skeleton, is done. So those masks are done and ready. No, Red Death is a completely different mask. Yep. It is not the Red Death mask. This is a totally different mask, but it was done along, like I said, with those skeletons. Will the pre-packed Armory builders be placed in factions? They will not. So these are not. These are going to be called Armory Knights. The package says Armory Knight. They don't have factions. I think it might just have, I think it actually might have the Legions of Light and the Legions of Dark logo on the package, if I'm not mistaken. But these are not characters. They don't have stories. These are just, I almost think about it like if these were Legos, these are like that bin of like spare parts that you basically get to make your own builds or something. These are, people have asked for years, I wish we could buy parts. And we've said it's never going to make sense for us to sell parts. There's a number of logistical reasons why it just doesn't make sense for us to sell things by the part. These are an example of being able to sell full builds that are an assembly of parts. They're literally made to pop and swap, mix and match. So that is really the intent here. When we presented this a couple weeks ago, we had said the whole idea behind the Legion's Armory experience is it is an experience, right? This is the type of thing where, if you're at LegionsCon and this is something that you get to do, we want it to be special. This is a challenge that we always have. Unfortunately, I think we live in a world where if someone gets a benefit, it's almost like anyone else that doesn't. It's like you're penalizing them because you rewarded somebody else. And that you never want to feel like that, because that's never the intention. When people come out and see us at shows, they spend their time, they spend their money, they come out and they become part of this community. That means something. That's important. We want to reward that. We want them to have a great time. So doing things like show figures or the Armory experience is a reward to those people that come out. At the same time, we are very cognizant of the fact that not everybody can make it out for a litany of reasons. There's so many reasons why someone may not be able to come. While we can't give them the exact same experience, we do whatever possible try to accommodate them in some way. This is us trying to accommodate people that can't get to the show in some way. What we did was we said, okay, we're going to do 10 pre-build figures. So you're not going to be able to go on and pick a head and pick an armor and do all that stuff. We explored that, right? We tried to build that online. There were a number of reasons why that was not going to fly. This is the next best thing. This is us saying, okay, those parts that are available in those bins, let's do 10 pre-built figures that people will be able to order. Now, these will go up for sale at Store Horseman sometime in early 2025. These are going to be available separately, or we will have a limited number of all-in sets. The prices are not determined yet, but what is determined is the all-ins will not be any cheaper than buying all 10 of them. The all-ins are a matter of convenience. The all-ins are just going to be like, I don't want to add 10 items to my cart and check out, I want to add one item to my cart. That is what the all-in is going to be. It will be pre-packed, but that's what it's going to be. I will tell you right now, the all-in and the single figures are going to be limited to one per person. You can either buy an all-in or you can buy the ones you want, but you can only buy one of anything. So if you buy the all-in, you can't buy the all-in and then try to buy all 10 of them or just buy the couple you really like. If you buy the all-in, that's all you can buy because you're getting one of each. If you don't want all 10 of them and you just want a couple of them, you can buy one of each, but no more than one of each figure. So these are going to be very, very limited. Keep in mind, at LegionsCon, if you get a ticket, you can only build 2 figures. If you do it 2 days in a row, you can build 4 figures. So realistically, when you think about it, being able to get 10 of them online, that's kind of a pretty bonus. So these will be very limited. And I say that to people because I have heard some people say, please share the builds up front. So I know that I won't copy one of those builds at LegionsCon. Totally fair. However, I strongly would encourage people, if there's a build you really like and you can do it at LegionsCon, just do it. Just do, like, don't not build what you want, because you may be able to buy it at Store Horseman down the road. No bones about it. These are going to go fast, right? We ordered a lot of Armory Knights. I guarantee you we did not order enough. I guarantee you that these are going to be in very, very high demand. So I got a whole bunch of flack with the Valiant Knight where I told people, you don't got to rush. It's going to be around for a while. And then it sold out in like 15 minutes. Okay, I was wrong. I'm not going to be wrong on this one. These are going to sell very, very fast. Don't sleep on it. If you're at LegionsCon and there's a build you want to do and the parts are available at that point, build what you want to build. That being said, these are the 10 different knights that will be available. So what we tried to do was 2 of each color along with 2 leather sets. The idea here is if you do buy an all-in, you could literally get these figures, pull them all apart, dump the parts on your table, and you could have an Armory experience at home. At one point, I actually wanted the boxed figures to be blown apart in the boxes. Like, I didn't want them to be assembled. I wanted it to be just like you were buying it at the show, where it was like head, torso, arms, legs. I wanted it to be all apart, so you actually had to put the pieces together. That ended up not working for some reasons, but you could still do it yourself. So this is one of the builds here. This is the first of the Green Knights. A lot of people are calling this Jade. This doesn't read like Jade to me. I get why they're saying that. There was a Jade Knight, years ago during the Kickstarter process. So a lot of people are comparing this to that. They're wildly different colors. This is a very rich green metallic. I would not necessarily call it jade. It doesn't look like the color jade to me. What you're going to notice for the 4 colored knights, the red, purple, green, gunmetal, what we tried to do was essentially a heroic build and an evil build. So all of these figures use the Valiant Knight upper arms and upper legs. In the case of the heroic ones, they also use the Valiant Knight lower arms and legs. But really, the bulk of the posability of the new range of motion comes in like the elbows and knees. So even a figure like this that's got the evil, like spiky lower arms and legs, you do still get some of that added range of motion than you would have had we used, say, like the old standard upper arms and upper legs. So this is the first of those red designs. This is the one that I would call the evil look. It's got those big spiky pauldrons. Again, it's got the spiky arms and legs. This is the first of the purples. This is the one, the very nostalgic one. A big part of the reason we did this. This is kind of an updated version of that knight that was in the case for that first presentation of Mythic Legions back in 2014. So that purple knight build that was in the case that never got a release. This was us being able to kind of get that out there. And I will point out, any interns, any people who are coming to intern for a day, when you come into the vestibule, if you actually look in those display cases, which I'm sure you will, there's a number of Legions in there that are weird. They're really weird sizes. They're like big. The purple knight is in there. They're actually 2-ups of the 4-inch size figures. So because a 2-up of a 4-inch figure is 8 inches, they're a little bit bigger than Legions, but you can see the original purple knight in that case. There's the first of the gunmetal. This is the one that's probably closest to Valiant Knight. It's got very similar body parts, obviously different torso, pauldrons, and the Valiant Knight does come with this head, so that's probably the closest one. And then this is the second of the green. This is kind of the evil green look, basically. Again, all those spiky pauldrons. The heroic red. I love this build. This is one of my favorites here. The evil purple. It's got that, I believe, I always say salad. Apparently it's like Soleil or something like that. I'm not cultured enough to say it correctly. I say a lot of things incorrectly. every once in a while, like I'll say something incorrectly, and then I'll say to Eric, I'll say like, how are you supposed to say that? And he'll correct me, and I'll think to myself, dude, he's let me say that incorrectly for years. Kind of like Emil Wickman, who let me say his name incorrectly for 5 years, and now I refuse to call him by his right name because I feel like I've called him incorrectly for so long that I can't fix myself now. This is the second of the gunmetal. So the weird thing with the gunmetal was we did that first one, the Valiant Knight. We were going to do an evil one, but we ended up just using some leather. So there's actually 3 figures that have some of the leather parts on it. So this is technically the evil version of the gunmetal, but it does use some of those leather parts. This is the one that I had mentioned when Joe, Eric, and I did the show. I mentioned this being the kind of build that Quinn Law likes to do. Dennis Derby as well. Both of them have done some really cool customs using like these leather type parts, but with this type of jousting helmet and stuff, armored upper arms and legs. So this works really well for that. This is one of the leathers. And then the last of the leathers uses those reds. I really love the red. As much as I love all of the colors, I think it's between the red and the green for my favorites. And I think the red probably slightly inches it out. So those are the 10 different builds that are going to be available. I saw a ton of questions coming in while I was going through that. So please allow me to backtrack and find them. Let's see. So Raziel, can we expect to see the single pack versions of the Armory Knights posted on Source Horseman? I'll probably put one listing called Armory Knights and just talk a little bit about the experience and probably show the photos of all the 10 we just saw. That'll probably get put up there at some point. Cloud is confirming that the Helios and Selene logos are on the side of the package. When I mentioned it's the Legions of Light and Legions of Dark logos, those are the Selene and Helios logos. They're interchangeable. Sometimes we call them Helios and Selene. Sometimes we call them Legions of Light and Legions of Dark. They are supposed to be symbolizing Selene and Helios, so it works really either way. But thank you for confirming that, Cloud. Let's see. Someone said we need to come to Texas. Dude, I'll be honest with you. I've looked into shows in Texas. I have not been able to find anything that seems worth making the trip down there for. I see a lot of super pop culture shows. We don't always do real well at like pop culture shows. We do really well at toy shows where it's like flat out toy fans. Shows that are more Comic-Con-y, it's super, super hit or miss. Cookie Bricks, what's up, everybody? Wish the green leather would have been one of the builds. At some point, we had to make a decision. That was one that just didn't make the cut. Will there be a larger number of all-ins than a normal wave? It's apples and oranges. Normal Mythic Legions waves are pre-orders. So the number of all-ins depend on the number of pre-orders. If you're asking me, did we make enough that would cover a normal Mythic Legions wave? No, there's less. There's definitely less of these. Price point at the event is $45. The price point online, I don't know yet, but it's likely going to be the same. It'll likely be $45 as well. Can we get these 10 and then 4 if we have both days at LegionsCon? Well, these come out next year. So you'd have to get, if you can score 4 at LegionsCon, I have no way to prevent you from buying the 10 online. I have no idea who's going to buy them at LegionsCon. My hope is that people that get what they want at LegionsCon will leave these for people that couldn't make it there. But I genuinely have no way to enforce that. These were made so people that can't come to the show have a chance to do it. But at the end of the day, our job is to sell toys, and we want to help out as many people as possible, but we actually make it hard to buy our toys sometimes because we try so hard to, be accommodating, like purchase limits, right? Think about purchase limits for a second. A company that wants to sell their product saying to people, I know you want to give us more money, but we can only allow you to give us so much. You can only buy 4 of these. You can only buy 1 of these or whatever. It's insane that as a company, we do that because we're trying to help out as many people as possible. So we really do work so hard to try to make it equitable, but there's only so much we can do. And realistically, as a business, there's only so much that makes sense for us to do. So to answer your question, yeah, if you wait in line both days at LegionsCon and you build 4 at LegionsCon and then you're able to score the 10, you could technically do that. The phone's beeping. Seeing who's texting me. They must not know that I'm online right now. Let's see. Just checking out what all the comments are here as we get close to the end of the conversation. Yeah, Joe Vassapolo mentioning the gunmetal is significantly darker than Valiant and it has no wash. So while I said that's the closest one to the Valiant, Joe is correct if you compare them side by side. While the parts build may be the closest one to Valiant, that color is still fairly significantly different than the Valiant Knight. Joe Vassapolo pointing out that there are no fabric arms and legs in the pre-built figures. That is 100% correct. And it was a conscious decision because, again, we had to decide what parts to put in. And the thought was that we've used those fabric arms and legs on a number of different figures, right? Even in this particular set, the ones that we did for the Armory, one of the colors is black, which we've done on Valak, on Headless Horseman. We again, you have to make decisions, right? Not everything is going to make it in. At some point, something had to be cut. We did 10 pre-builds. Some people thought we were going to just do 4, just do the 4 main colors. We did 10 pre-builds. At some point, we were looking at putting in the fabrics, and we felt that more people they would prefer probably another shot at this red armor or something like that versus some of those fabrics. So we left those out, which again makes them unique and special for LegionsCon. Like I said earlier, at the end of the day, we really do want to make stuff special for those that come to the show. We can't make everything that's available at the show in the same exact way available online, so we do our best. Going through the comments. Is there a limit on the number of tickets that we'll give out each day for the Armory? Absolutely there is. We can only realistically get so many people through that queue in a given span of time. So that's one of the reasons why we said the reason we put out all the parts up front and we showed all of what the selections would be, right? And you can do this, you can see this right on Source Horseman. Let me actually bring it up so we can look at it. Very, very relevant. So I'm at Source Horseman right now, And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to scroll down. It's actually a news item. So the news item where we announced the Legion's Armory experience, I can get to it there, or I can go under updates, news, and access it that way. But that's what I'm looking for, announcing the Legion's Armory experience. That particular piece has these graphics. So the reason that we shared these, step one, choose your head. You know, step two is, oh, it doesn't, I thought it was going to iterate. Apparently it doesn't iterate. Step two is choose your torso. The reason we have all of these is we want people, before they get to that queue, to have a sense of what they want to build. The faster that you get through that, the more people that we can actually pump through that. So to answer your question, in the morning, we're going to determine how many people we think we can get through, and that's how many tickets we're going to distribute. And we're going to tell people, you know, okay, you're the first 20, stay right here. You're going to go in soon. You know, okay, after that, you know, come back in 30 minutes, come back in 60 minutes. We're going to try to gauge that, right? If towards the end of the day, we completely kick butt and we got through everybody and there's 2 hours left, we'll make an announcement and we'll say, Armory experience is open, line is forming now, no tickets required. And then people can get in line and go there. We won't know that this is the first time we've ever done this. This is going to be a learning experience for us. So if you are at LegionsCon, be kind. If it's not working perfectly, we will adjust as necessary. We've got a plan, pretty confident in the plan itself, but we'll adjust and learn like we always do with everything. So yes, there is a limited amount. That is going to be one of the lines you're going to want to get in. And one thing I'm going to do before, I don't have it tonight, but before we are done, before we get to LegionsCon, I actually have signs we're getting printed by Wolf King Customs that say like, you know, Legion's Armory experience line up here, main ballroom, community room line up here. I will actually show you those graphics. Everything will be clearly marked at LegionsCon, but I'll actually show you the signs in advance so you know what to expect. Yes, Benny, these are literally the exact same colors at LegionsCon. Yeah, Sven, the site's going to look different on any device you look at it, depending what your settings are. So none of them come with extra parts like alt head or second pair of pauldrons. So again, at the Armory experience, you pick one head, one torso, a set of arms and legs, a set of pauldrons with the waist armor, and then it comes with a weapons pack. So the reason that the boxed ones are basically meant to be like, imagine you were at the Armory experience and that's what you built. Like we basically built something like the Armory experience. So we didn't want to say like, oh, well, let's add an extra head in there. Let's add, an extra set of armor or some soft goods or whatever. It's not a cost reason. It's just, we wanted it to be the same thing. We didn't want them to be two totally different items. It's really at the show, the parts are disassembled and you have a lot more selection. There's a bunch of parts that are only at the show and you got the gag item, but you also get all these other parts. And you have the ability to kind of mix and match. Online, you get what you get. Like this is the pre-built type look. So that's the reason. Yeah, Joe Vassapolo saying, think of others, don't get greedy. Okay. And with that, I'm at the end of the comments for today. So I think I'm going to call it a night. It has been, quite frankly, an incredibly busy couple days. As excited as I am to be 1 month away from LegionsCon, as Joe in the chat can attest to, this is a very busy time for all of us at Four Horsemen Studios. It's a stressful time. It's a good stress. We're doing what we love to do, and none of us, none of us would want to be doing anything but what we are doing. But there's still a lot of stuff, a lot of late hours, and a lot of work ahead of us. So I am fairly wiped out, but I had a wonderful time talking to you all tonight. Couple reminders. If you are considering going to LegionsCon and you don't have your badges yet, we have only a handful left. We are 4 weeks away. Looking at where we are now, I have to expect that we probably will sell out of 2-day advance badges before actual showtime. We will have single-day badges at the doors each day, but like I've said a number of times, if you want to get your badges early on, like, say, the Friday night, you've got to pre-register for those. If you come in on Friday night and say, oh, I didn't buy anything, can I just buy my badges for the next 2 days? The answer is going to be no. That is only going to be sold at the doors on those days. The early access is one of the advantages of pre-buying. So go to LegionsCon.com, get your 2-day badges if you are interested in doing so, if you want that earlier access. All the information you need on LegionsCon is at LegionsCon.com, the schedule, the floor maps, all that good stuff. Obviously, this coming Monday, Store Horsemen, we are going to be dropping the in-stock sale with the Tusk Heavy Gunner. Other stuff we talked about today, the Headless Horseman, the Gods of Egypt, some Cosmic All-Ins. Those are all going to be available in addition to the Graveyard Skeletons as a pre-order. If you want those skeletons, show us how much you love them, support that sale, get those pre-orders in, because those pre-orders end midnight on Halloween. So you got about 2 weeks to get those in. Other than that, I will be back here next week with a big group of people. So I believe they are calling themselves the First Alliance. I'm going to have a number of exhibitors from LegionsCon and a really cool mix. We've got, someone, Anthony Halseal, that's been, at LegionsCon and part of LegionsCon since the very, very first show. One of the few vendors, one of the few exhibitors that's been there every single year, from that first year to the virtual year all the way through this year. Number of other people that have been around varying amounts of years, and even someone like Matt Stein, who attended last year, but this year will be his first year officially as an exhibitor. He had a couple things out at the Toy Forge table. So we're going to have a nice mix of people that have been at LegionsCon for a variety of different years. And we're going to talk more about the event as we march closer and closer to LegionsCon 2024. Guys, I got to tell you, if you can't attend and you're going to watch, G-Con live, it's going to be something pretty special. If you are going to be there, this is going to be the type of event that the toy community is going to be talking, not even just the Legions community. Everyone is going to be talking about this event because this is the 10-year anniversary of Mythic Legions. This is the 25th year anniversary of Four Horsemen Studios. We are going to do some pretty special stuff. I cannot wait to share it with you all. I will see you next week. I will see you at LegionsCon. Until then, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. Good night.